I never thought I'd hear my own mother call me a gold digger. But there I was, standing in the middle of a crowded family dinner, while everyone stared at me like I was some kind of scam artist. The worst part, they genuinely believed it. My name is Emily, and for most of my life, I was the quiet one in the family. I wasn't the loud cousin who demanded attention. I wasn't the successful brother who posted pictures of luxury vacations, and I definitely wasn't the favorite child. I worked hard, paid my own bills, and stayed out of everyone's business. For years, nobody paid much attention to me, until I started dating Daniel. Daniel was kind, respectful, and successful. He owned several businesses and lived comfortably. The moment my family found out about his financial status, everything changed. At first, it was subtle, little comments here and there. Oh, Emily finally got lucky. Guess she found someone to pay her bills. Smart move. I laughed it off. I thought they were joking. I was wrong. The comments became accusations. Every family gathering felt like an interrogation. One afternoon, my aunt cornered me in the kitchen. "So what exactly do you see in Daniel?" I smiled. "He's a good man," she laughed. "No, seriously." That was the moment I realized she wasn't joking. She honestly thought money was the reason I was with him. A few weeks later, things got worse. My cousin Jessica hosted a birthday party. Halfway through dinner, someone brought up marriage. Suddenly, all eyes turned toward me. Jessica smirked. "So, Emily, when's the wedding?" I shrugged. "We're taking things slowly." My uncle chuckled. "Probably making sure the paperwork is right first." Several people laughed. I felt my face burn. "What paperwork?" My uncle raised an eyebrow. "You know, assets." Table exploded with laughter. Even my mother smiled. And that's when something inside me broke, not because they were teasing me, because they actually believed I was that kind of person. I left early that night. I cried the entire drive home. Daniel listened quietly while I explained everything. When I finished, he simply squeezed my hand. "You don't have to prove anything to anyone." I wanted to believe him, but it wasn't that simple. Family opinions have a way of digging under your skin. Months passed. The comments continued. I ignored them. Daniel ignored them. Life moved forward. Then one day, my grandmother passed away. The loss hit everyone hard. She had always been the glue holding our family together. A month later, we gathered for the reading of her estate. Everyone expected a simple process. Nobody knew she had one final surprise waiting. The meeting was held inside a large conference room. Lawyers, documents, family members. The atmosphere was tense. People were curious. Some were excited. Others were nervous. The attorney began reading through the details. Savings accounts, investments, personal belongings. Everything seemed normal. Then he mentioned a commercial building downtown. The room immediately became interested. Everyone knew the building. It was one of the most valuable properties in the city center. Several businesses rented space there. The property generated a substantial monthly income. My cousin whispered, "Who gets that?" The attorney adjusted his glasses. "The ownership transfer instructions are very specific." Suddenly, the room became silent. Even breathing seemed louder. The attorney continued reading. According to my grandmother's wishes, the building would be transferred to a single family member. Someone she believed possessed integrity, patience, and humility. A person who had never treated others differently based on money. I noticed several relatives sitting up straighter. Everyone assumed they were about to become rich. Then the attorney said my name. "Emily." A second, I thought I had misheard him. The room froze. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. The attorney repeated it. "Building will transfer entirely to Emily." Silence that followed was unforgettable. Jessica's mouth literally fell open. My uncle looked stunned. My mother blinked several times, and I just sat there, completely speechless. The attorney handed me a folder. Inside were documents, ownership records, and a handwritten letter from my grandmother. My hands trembled as I opened it. Her handwriting instantly brought tears to my eyes. The letter said, "Emily, you were always kind when nobody was watching. You never cared who had money and who didn't. You treated people with respect whether they had everything or nothing. Many people mistake kindness for weakness. I never did. This building isn't a reward. It's a responsibility. And I trust you to handle it with wisdom. Love, Grandma." By the time I finished reading, I was crying. The room remained silent, but the silence felt different now. Heavy, uncomfortable, almost embarrassing, because everyone knew exactly what had happened. The same family who called me a gold digger had just discovered that I owned more valuable property than any of them. The irony was almost painful. After the meeting ended, people suddenly became very friendly. My aunt approached first. "Emily, your grandmother always loved you." Almost laughed. A month earlier, she had accused me of chasing money. Now she was smiling like we were best friends. Then my uncle appeared. You know, I always respected your work ethic. Interesting, that respect hadn't existed before. Jessica was next. We should get lunch sometime. Of course. I politely thanked everyone and left. Outside, Daniel was waiting. When I showed him the documents, he stared for a moment, then he smiled. Proud of you. Because of the building, not because of the money, because he understood what it represented, validation. The kind I never asked for, the kind I stopped expecting years ago. Over the next few weeks, family dynamics changed dramatically. People called more often. Messages appeared out of nowhere. Relatives I hadn't heard from in years suddenly wanted to reconnect. The pattern was obvious. Some wanted favors, some wanted opportunities, some wanted access. But a few genuinely felt ashamed. One evening, my mother asked me to meet her for coffee. I wasn't sure what to expect. She looked nervous when I arrived. For several minutes, she just stirred her drink. Finally, she spoke. Emily, I owe you an apology. I stayed quiet. She continued. I should have defended you. Honesty caught me off guard. She looked down. When everyone was making those comments about Daniel, I knew they were wrong. And why didn't you say anything? Her eyes filled with tears. Because it was easier to stay quiet. That answer hurt, but it was honest, and sometimes honesty matters more than excuses. She reached across the table. I let other people influence how I saw things. I nodded slowly. For the first time in a long while, we had a real conversation. Not a perfect one, not a magical one, just a genuine one. And that was enough. A few months later, I attended another family gathering. The same dining room. The same people, the same table. But everything felt different. Not because I owned a building. Because I finally understood something important. People often judge others based on assumptions. They create stories in their heads and treat those stories like facts. My family had looked at Daniel's success and decided I was chasing money. They never bothered asking who I actually was. The truth was simpler. I loved Daniel before I knew what was in his bank account. And long before my family learned who owned that building, my worth had nothing to do with money. That realization changed everything. Because real confidence doesn't come from proving people wrong. It comes from no longer needing their approval. As dinner ended that night, I looked around the table. For the first time, I didn't feel invisible. But I also didn't feel the need to impress anyone. And honestly, that felt better than owning any building ever could. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who loves emotional family drama and powerful life lessons. Welcome to Emily Calm Stories, where every story reveals a deeper truth about people, trust, and second chances.